morning. So this morning, I'm going to be talking about something called spiritual fire and initiation. I'm smiling because this is actually a pretty intense talk this morning, but I know you'll understand it. You can understand it if you just concentrate. If your mind wanders and goes over here for a minute or so, you're going to lose information and then you might be a little bit flummoxed. So let me start with this. I came across a Hindu tale about God having many names. Rama is written about in the oldest Sanskrit epic titled the Mahabharata. The story that I'm going to be sharing with you is about seeing God in everything. And as I'm reading this, think about COVID-19. Kind of put it into the tale into today's problems. And here's the tale. God has many names. The guru told his disciple, and one of these is Rama. If you see God in everything, then you will be safe wherever you go. So the disciple traveled, and everywhere he went, he recited Ram, Ram, to keep himself safe. One day he came to a village that was terrorized by a mad elephant who would rampage through the streets regularly. When the villagers warned the disciple that the elephant had been heard nearby, the disciple was not concerned. My guru told me only to recognize God in everything, and I will be safe. But the villagers persisted, insisting that it was very dangerous to go out when the elephant was around. This elephant is God, and I am God. So why should I be afraid? Thought the disciple. And he went right out onto the street. The elephant, seeing a man in the middle of the street, charged right at him. "Watch out," the villagers cried. And even as the disciple thought, I am God, you are God, the mad elephant picked him up and threw him to the side of the road, nearly killing the poor man. After a long convalescence, the disciple returned to his guru to tell the story and complain. He said, "You told me to see Rama in everything and I would be safe. And now look at me." "Oh, my disciple," replied the guru, "you were right to see God in yourself and in the elephant. But why," he went on to say, "did you fail to recognize God warning you in the voice of the villagers?" I know. Common sense. So today's talk, like I said earlier, is going to take some thought. But if you concentrate, it will reach your mind, your heart, and you will gain new insights about fire and initiation. In initiation ceremonies, when the consciousness expands beyond its limits and penetrates into a new plane of consciousness, the heart center and the head center play a great role. In every initiation, these centers are exposed to a painful pressure, and those who cannot stand the pressure are not allowed to enter into the ceremony. For example, it is impossible for a person to take advanced initiations who have a wounded heart. Because why? This is the common sense, the practical of the teaching. A person with a wounded heart, if they try to take an advanced initiation, will experience a disastrous effect on the life of that individual, not only for this life, but for many incarnations to come. So how is the heart wounded? This might be surprising to you. It is wounded by every harmful thought, harmful expression, feeling, word, or even by attitudes that do not agree with the principle of love and compassion. Accumulations of wounds for hundreds of incarnations is going to make it impossible for a person to stand in the pressure. The spiritual fire of the master and past initiations. This is why we have earthly teachers. Earthly teachers help us prepare for our future initiations. The earthly teacher, what does the earthly teacher do? This is not a present experience that particularly people in this country, Americans in this country, would even acknowledge or care about. Because they live in the land of the free. We believe in free will. Yes. But free will is what lengthens our time on this planet and finds us regurgitating every incarnation just like Groundhog Day, because we can do it ourselves. That's our free will, that's our freedom. But if you're smart and you listen to your soul, you listen to your inner guidance, you will learn that the earthly teacher prepares us for our future incarnations. The earthly teacher provides attention. Listen to this. The earthly teacher provides attention that encourages purification. And what is this purification about? It is the purification of accumulated wounds from the hundreds of incarnations, the wounds that made it impossible for you to pass through initiations. Now, think about the wounds you've experienced in this lifetime. And you then think about the hundreds of lifetimes of the accumulation of those wounds until you reach a point where the ego sets itself aside and says, I don't want to carry these wounds with me any longer into my next life and my next and my next. How do I heal these wounds? It is through the earthly teacher. And let me repeat this. The earthly teacher provides attention. Tension, Tension, provides attention that encourages purification. Remember, the earthly teacher stands as an enemy to our personality life, but a lover to our souls. You can read a lot about this through the poetry of Rumi. My experience with my own teachers was exactly that. They provided me with a multitude of challenges to eradicate the wounds of many incarnations. To this day, my heart is filled with gratitude for the time and energy that they gave me. Those challenges indeed created tension, and the tension created a pressure that could only be relieved if healed. How? Through hard work, by steady striving, and with a willingness to change. We have people today walking on the street that says, I'm perfect. I don't need to change myself. Well, they would be wrong. Imagine if we still behaved like we did in the Lemurian root race when we were mere animals. This is why, as a pet owner, I put all of my dogs through obedience classes so they will change. So why don't we honor ourselves in the same way, with a willingness to become somebody better? At times, I would not understand the ways that they challenged me, and I would think that they were working against my joy, my happiness, my freedom, my sense of self. I remember back in college days, I had 2 or 3 music teachers, and every single one of them was so tough on me. But there was one that was tougher than the other 2. And it wasn't just about music. I mean, it was very, very demanding of how many hours I practiced every day. And this is in the university system when I had other classes that I was required to go to. But it went beyond that. It went to how I walked, how I spoke, who my friends were. I was so angry at this man, so angry at him, and now I love him to death because he was a great teacher. As I worked on each challenge, eventually the aha moments arrived, and I would understand the challenge. It was through such experiences that I learned about true love, the love that such a teacher has for a person's soul. I finally understood what it says in a book from the teaching that a true teacher is the enemy of our personality. One's personality life is the life of the walking wounded. Remember, Christ said, there is no greater healing energy than love. So how do these wounds occur? Okay, for example, the crown in the head center is wounded. Every time the person deceives or cheats or manipulates or misdirects, misinforms, or falls into treason and fanaticism and vanity and separatism and ego, that's how the wounds affect the head center. If we cannot heal ourselves from these wounds, then when the wounded heart and crown center enter into, listen to this, enter into pressurized spheres of energy, they produce embodiments of darkness. This takes thinking. It's not just a superficial gymnastic intellectualism. Oh yeah, I've heard this before. It's so real. It is so very real if you are on the path of Agni Yoga. It is so real. So this is why I said at the beginning, allow yourself to concentrate on what the teaching is telling us here. If we cannot heal ourselves from these wounds, then when the wounded heart and crown center enters into pressurized spheres of energy, they produce embodiments of darkness. The wounds of the heart are this: harmful thoughts, expressions, harmful expressions, feeling, words, or by attitudes that do not agree with the principle of love and compassion. To stand in the pressure of the earthly teacher pales in comparison with standing in the pressure of a master. Either way, it is extremely difficult to face the teacher or the master when you are wounded. From the beginning, the neophyte is advised to strive for what? For purity. To learn concentration, purity, concentration, and to live in compassion. Purity, concentration, and compassion. What is purity? First of all, think about this, that purity is the greatest shield. And we think this shield, this face shield, is protection. Purity is the greatest shield you can have. And it is in purity that the spiritual energies, these spiritual energies will transform your bodies and allow your consciousness then and finally to work on the higher plane. Concentration allows an initiate to hold this energy. Hold what energy? The energy that is created in the pressure of this sphere of the field of fiery energy. So concentration allows an initiate to hold the energy and then to direct it to the proper location and not allow any leakage. Compassion opens the initiate to the influence of cosmic law. So concentration, meditation, and contemplation prepare us to stand in the pressure of the great ones. And not only that, as we are standing in the pressure of the great ones, then we pass the fire of initiation unharmed. Purity, here's a definition now of purity. Purity is the absence of illusion and glamour and Maya. So when we enter the path and we begin reading all of these beautiful books from the teaching, and we read over and over and over again about purity, this is the foundation and also the reason that requires striving and a desire to change ourselves, because illusion and glamour and Maya not only controls us, they obsess us and oftentimes possess us. Concentration. Concentration is to hold the focus of energies. Hold the focus of energies, and then to be able to record the mystery of initiation. This might require some thought from you. To hold the focus of energy, what does holding the focus of energy have to do with recording the mystery of initiation? Because it's in this sphere of pressure and tension. Intention. The sphere of pressure, tension, and intention that you must focus those energies. And in the focus, in concentration, you begin to recognize every single aspect in your life that is part of the process of initiation. So some people just think you go to sleep one night and you have a dream about being in this magnificent hall, and that Santa Camara comes to you and touches you, and voila, you're an illumined being. It just doesn't happen that way. Concentration is to hold the focus of energy while you are living your life. And during this process, you are able to record the mysteries in your life that are related to advancing toward your next initiation. Compassion. Compassion builds the network of communication with the highest laws and energies of the universe. Now, beginners on the path do not realize the importance of pressure and tension and intention, and the power to stand in the pressure and in the tension. They don't understand it. Beginners do not understand it. Every advance, every test, every crisis, and every opportunity for service passes one through the pressures and through the tension. Those who can pass through can achieve greater positions in the service field for the Most High. Just think about this. Imagine, here you are, this little soul, this one human being amongst all of humanity, and your light, the light of your soul, has positioned you in such a way that you are being given an opportunity to serve in the field of the Most High. Just think about it. So we are told that at the first initiation, the initiate becomes aware of the third aspect of the Most High. First initiation, third aspect of the Most High. The third aspect is intelligence. The third aspect is the intelligence aspect. It is after the first initiation that the disciple uses their mind more goal-fittingly. But only after the first initiation. At the second initiation, the initiate becomes aware of the second aspect. And the second aspect is the love aspect of the higher self. And it begins to direct your intelligence factor, that third aspect, toward what? Toward group activity. Group activity in accordance with the plan. So if you're taking notes, write down that whole phrase. Begins to direct your intelligence toward group activities in accordance with the plan of hierarchy, the planetary hierarchy. Now, cooperation with the plan increases as you travel toward the third initiation. It is at the third initiation when you become aware of the first aspect of the higher self, which is the will aspect. Willpower is one of the most beautiful gifts a human being can be given, and particularly to an initiate, because will now is the pathway from and to the Master, from and to Santa Camara and beyond. It is during the third initiation an initiate is impressed by the purpose which the masters know and serve, and they try to live according to the divine purpose, the divine plan. Now, we can be so bold to think about the fourth initiation. It is at the fourth initiation that the initiate releases from within themselves these three aspects: intelligence, love, and will. And they climb into the Buddhic level. The fourth initiation is the beginning of the superhuman path. In it, the initiate uses intelligence and love and will aspects of their core. And they prepare themselves then to be a master of the wisdom. The initiation process, or the process of expansion of consciousness, is controlled by the triple fires. For example, the first initiation is taken when the untapped and active fires, which are called internal fires, fuse and blend with the mental fires. Let me repeat this. The first initiation, just the first initiation, is taken when your untapped and active fires, the internal fires, fuse and blend with the mental fires. To take further initiations, your internal fires or mental fires, then we could say even the fires of the higher self, must blend and fuse with spiritual fires. See, they're not separate from. They come together. Pressure. Intense pressure. Such a fusion now is really affecting and activating additional petals in your lotus. As the petals unfold due to the fusion of these fires, the succeeding initiations can now be taken until the fourth initiation. At the fourth initiation is when the combustion of fires enables your human soul to destroy the chalice, to destroy the lotus, and escape into the intuitional plane. But we have more than the lotus in the higher mind, right? We have the 1,000-petaled lotus. Okay, so there are the three fires. Purify the physical body and make the chakras, your chakras along the spine, more radioactive. Solar fire purifies the emotional correspondence of the etheric spine and chakras. So I'm going to repeat that. Solar fire, this is fire in your higher mind. Purifies, remember how I define purification? Okay. Purifies the emotional correspondence. We're talking about glamours, some illusions and some Maya. Purifies the emotional correspondence of the etheric spine and chakras. And the spiritual fire purifies the mental correspondence of these chakras. All bodies are purified in such a degree that the spiritual fire now circulates without friction. Remember that old fire by friction? This is the stage that we call the transfiguration initiation. The next initiation, the fourth is taken again through the agency of spiritual fire, which releases itself through the burning of the petals of the lotus. And now the human soul is emancipated from the limitations of the personality life and enters into the Buddhic plane, the intuitional plane. This marks the beginning of the fourth initiation. The teaching of the hierarchy has one main purpose, which is to make us release our core and use that energy to destroy hindrances around us and provide a continuous source of energy for our creative actions and our sacrificial service. The teaching of hierarchy. As a result, we work and suffer while the energy continuously radiates and pours into our system. This is why the teaching says there's no retirement for the initiate. It's not just quitting your job. It's not to stop studying. Retirement does not mean that you stop striving and undergoing this process of transformation, because hierarchy says we must work and suffer while the energy continues to radiate and pour into our system. The teacher exemplifies and sometimes shows us how to release the energy of the spirit and make ourselves resurrected human beings. Sometimes this happens. A resurrected or ascended human being is one who then will have the ultimate freedom from all limitations of their nature and the nature of all who live on this planet. This is why it's rare. Radioactivity is a process. Here's another definition. Okay. Radioactivity is a process of releasing the nucleus in the atom, or releasing your soul from the bodies or vehicles in which your soul is captured. Radioactivity is a release or process of the release of your soul from the three bodies. Once released, the soul seeks two things. He seeks to either form a system with more, now listen to this, if you don't concentrate, you're going to lose half of this and you're going to lose it all. So come back. Once released, the soul seeks two things. He seeks either to form a system with more advanced electrons and protons, which means co-workers and friends, and to be more useful to the purpose of life as a whole. And he seeks, this is the second point, to become a far more advanced soul. So for example, let's say you're an attorney. This is so practical. An attorney who has a team of people that you work with. Then you become a member of a group of lawyers. And this group of lawyers works for a judge. Then you become a Supreme Court judge and have various teams to use. You see how this all works? Every leader plays the role of the soul, or the role of a nucleus. Every single leader. They have their own ring past knot, their own walls of limitation, like electrons and protons and positrons and so forth. Many leaders are limited by the people around them who are serving in many capacities. Many leaders are limited by the people around them. They surround the leader like a chain with their Maya, with their glamours, with their illusions, with their jealousies, their vanities, their ego, their blindness, and they hinder their leader's freedom. How do they do that? They decide to act from their own personality level or the level of their own consciousness. It's like my dog Maggie. I've got 3 Shelties now. I had 4, I'm down to 3. Soon to be down to 2, I think. But Maggie, of all the Shelties, Maggie's personality is the most well-formed. All the other dogs run into the house because they know breakfast is ready. Maggie stands out there in the front yard. I'm not coming in. I'll get fed. She will not feed me. So I'm going to stay out here for a little while longer. She comes in the house. All the dog bowls are on the floor. She has to be served first. Then we have Mr. B. And then we have Honey Bunny. That's the order that they get their food. Okay, so by this time, little Miss Maggie has half of her food eaten. Oh, wait a minute, Mr. B and Honey Bunny, they've got food. I've got to let them know they can't eat it because it belongs to me. And she races from Mr. B down the hallway to Honey Bunny and bark, 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 bark. Pay attention to me. This is animal behavior. But it doesn't affect the other dogs. They go ahead and eat. It's so cute. It's so cute to watch. And then we have the bird, Debbie. Debbie is always up on the counter. Maggie is on the floor. And they have this relationship going on. Mealtime. Debbie gets her popcorn with little seeds. By this time, Maggie's already eaten, so she comes over and sits there and looks at Debbie, and Debbie looks down, here! And she throws off popcorn onto the floor, or sometimes little seed balls. I mean, this is animal behavior. We don't want to have behavior like that. We don't want to be a Maggie. Because Maggie won't change. When you see a person surrounding the leader, limiting the leader with their Maya, glamour, and illusion, this occurs when you observe how the one who has an earthly teacher is unable to stand in the pressure and fire of the teacher. All of our wounds, all of our hindrances prepare our core, the mysteries of initiation. It is the wounds, the hindrances, that created tremendous pressure and tension and crises in the core, the nucleus. The pressure in the core reaches such a state of intensity that it helps the core to break its walls of limitation. Every obstacle and limitation, if it is handled in the right way, will assist you in finding your freedom. Freedom from Maya, glamour, and illusion. Freedom from ego and vanity. Freedom from obsession and possession. We must find a way to surpass ourselves, to be able to handle the pressures of the teacher and the master, which is accomplished gradually through flexibility, meditation, discipline, service, creativity, and purity. Discipline is a process to prepare the bodies for repulsion. You know how attraction and repulsion, this is what the repulsion of attraction means. This is esoteric, and it's the definition you find in the teaching. It's not like hate. Repulsion is an esoteric term which means the release of the soul which no longer needs to be in the orbit of the same core. The release of the soul which no longer needs to be in the orbit of the same core. Such a release needs a high achievement, high degree of achievement and understanding, as well as purity and detachment. Service is a process of breaking the walls or your ring past knot and preparing your soul for other achievements. That's service. Creativity is a process of manifesting the level of consciousness and beingness which you have reached. And then, having reached that level, you translate that level through what? Through your thoughts, it's like your filter system. Wherever your beingness is, wherever your level of consciousness is, that's where your filter system is. And will translate that level through your thoughts, through your words and actions, in such a way that you prepare a path for others to tread toward the mount of resurrection. That's creativity, purity. Unless we purify our vehicles, our karma, we cannot release our soul. As long as our bodies are polluted by corresponding impurities, they make the release impossible. This is why if we want to release, this is from the teaching, it's a quote, this is why if we want to release the piece or the fire of a piece of wood, we burn it. If we want to release the fire of a piece of wood, we burn it. If you do not understand purification, then try to study and read about it. In essence, purification is the elimination of all those elements which cause friction, short circuits, distortion, disturbances, pollution, leakage, or wastes of a great amount of energy. It is related to the substance of a given plane. For example, transmutation is related to raising the substance to a higher plane. That's transmutation. And that's it. Spiritual fire and initiation. I'm looking for something. So what do you think? Do you have any questions? We have a couple of minutes, actually. Do you understand everything? Good. If you understood everything, you'd be bored. Or you lost your concentration, and so you don't. So any questions? You guys in the back, you have a question?
I have a question about the core, trying to find the heart. Did you go on to a different core? Is that core the personality, that first one? Do you define that paragraph?
Right, it's something to think about. When you think about the core, you can see it in so many different ways. Think about it in so many different ways. One way to think about it is your control center. The soul is now ready to move from allowing the control center to be your solar plexus. You know, the solar plexus is where you're in total defense mode. You don't respect authority. You are your own authority. Until this integration process takes place and consciousness expands, and now the light is a little bit more light is released from the soul, and it says, I don't want to stay in glamour any longer. So I'm going to move from the nucleus of the solar plexus, and now I'm going to be heart-centered. So it's moved its core. Anyone else?
What are some of the signs that a person is in too much tension? Too much fiery?
Too much tension. If a person demonstrates that they cannot handle the pressure and tension, their nervous system is affected. And, I'm not a medical person, but you could go to the internet. There's all kinds of information on the internet to learn about your nervous system. Why is it breaking down? Why are certain glands that are related to centers that control your nervous system in a state of disease that is taking you to your doctor? That's the first thing that I see, the nervous system. There's an interim process where as you're going through through these fires, and you're practicing the teaching and the discipline of the teachings, like all the disciplines that Agni Yoga shares with us. Then there are certain things you can do to help go through that fire, like take calcium magnesium, calms the body down. Take valerian tincture, and there's also now there's other things that include valerian that are more palpable to the digestion of your body. But of course, you always have to see your doctor. We don't want to be responsible for giving information that might be harmful to you. So go to your naturopath and talk to them about, your nervous system, and is it okay to try valerian root and its variations, and calcium magnesium. That will help help your system be less resistant and more receptive as the burning ground takes place.